or the worst dirt bike ever built.
Yeah, a lot of power, no handling.
Yes.
A lot of power, no handling.
No flywheel.
Yeah.
So
No flywheel.
No flywheel.
So is this a 71?
71.
71.
1 year only bike.
Okay, right, right.
So it's like a light switch. It's either on or off.
On or off.
Oh, these things were just horrible. I mean, you just would kill yourself on that thing.
Yep. And
Yeah.
then the frame would flex, and then the suspension was really, really bad. So the combination was just terrible.
And Suzuki built it because
They were entering into the open class. This is
Okay.
their first open class bike in Japan, 1971.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of parts I need to get done to make it right. I ordered a more appropriate number plates, believe it or not. And these bikes have an oil tank, an oil injected bike. So they have a little hole here where you can see the level of the oil.
Right, so it is an inject. I see the lines going into the
It is.
case and into the cylinder, so it's an injected bike. Okay.
Yep.
You don't see too many of those.
You just, yeah.
No, not a 71.
People hated them.
Yeah, yeah, and rightly so. They were.
and there's not a lot of street bikes in here. There's got to be a reason for the bike.
The RM370 in
Okay.
1973. And the story on that is for the first motocross race in Belgium, as it was on the way, it was disqualified because it was too lightweight. So
What was the weight,
Husqvarna,
188 pounds?
so this one was 207 pounds.
Right, but what was the limit? It was 188 or 200 or?
So I don't know the exact limit, but the Bultaco, Mako, Husqvarna, all of those European bikes, the weight was about 230.
Okay.
So they were upset because it
Maybe it was
was
218, I heard.
Yeah.
I know it had an 8 in it.
So anyway, what happened was the bike had to be filled with some lead to get it up to weight.
Yeah.
And so that was interesting. But with this bike, I met a gentleman by the name of Terry Good. And Terry Good has Roger Decoster's one bike.
Is that his signature on there?
Yes, it is.
Very good.
So Terry Good also purchased some spare parts. So with the authorization of Roger Decoster, Terry Good allowed me to buy parts to build this bike. So that's the actual spare works head and cylinder and pipe and airbox.
What year is this?
So this is a 73.
A 73.
73
Okay.
RM370.
Okay, so what was the deal? They built it for him to race all season or just one race?
So all season, and the other thing also he did is he also built what was called a sand tank, because this tank wasn't big enough for some of the motos.
All right.
And so especially if there was sand that was involved, it took more fuel to be able to finish the
Okay,
race. So
okay.
Roger Decoster was a great mechanic. So one time, and there's some pictures on Terry Good's website that shows, and in his book that shows what Roger Decoster did, is he had a section built up here to be able to add more fuel. And the other thing also on this bike is these are poppy body conies, but Roger Decoster actually turned the lower leg. And what they were doing back then is because of the issue with the friction of the shock, it would cook the oil out of the, through the shaft. So they were experimenting with putting cooling fins on the shock body to keep the oil from getting too loose. He actually turned his on a lathe. These are poppy body conies, which is the closest we could get to that because there's only one set of shocks that he ever made.
So are these machined bottoms? These were actually machined to radiate heat.
To radiate heat.
Okay.
And later, of course, they go to the piggyback, to the reservoir shocks.
Okay.
But what we had to do here is when we built this frame, it's all the correct alloy, and also we built external swing arm bearings.
Okay. Yeah.
And
I see that.
when
yeah.
Roger Decoster inspected this bike at Main Stage in Glendale 3 years ago, it was the only bike on the track before the track walk, and he came out and inspected the bike. A couple of things we had to do is we had to manufacture a shifter that looked like his. We had to also manufacture a couple other parts. We had to manufacture the chain guide.
So did you created something and then had it zinc plated?
Yes.
Okay, because I was going to say that looks way too factory to just weld something and then not have it plated.
But all of the nuts and bolts are titanium. Every nut and bolt on it is titanium.
Okay.
So this is how we were able to get it to the 270.
The bottom end, well, the engine, the bottom end is what? And
That's a great question, because
Yeah.
the bottom end is a 1979 370 bottom end.
so it would
But
be
in
an
19
RM 370.
RM bottom end.
Okay.
But the RM came with the reed valve.
Yes,
So
that's
we had
right.
to cut the
Yeah.
reed valve out and re-weld the cases because the 73 bike did not have a reed valve.
Okay.
Who does all the machining?
Mike Halpin. Now, a guy named Mike
HALPIN? I've heard that name before.
He's a genius.
Yeah,
He
I've
has
heard.
like 65 US patents, about
Yeah.
60